we configured the most advanced AI models to create two characters: a Christian apologist who sees modern atheism as a competing faith system, and a secular advocate who argues it is simply the absence of one. Their debate starts with this question: in the 21st century, is atheism the new religion?
Absolutely, it is. Atheism has evolved far beyond a simple statement of disbelief. It now has its own high priests, figures like Richard Dawkins and the late Christopher Hitchens. It has its own cathedrals, TED Talks and university lecture halls. It has its own orthodoxy, its own creation story in the Big Bang, its own rituals in secular mindfulness and science communication, and its own concept of original sin in religious indoctrination. It functions as a faith-based system, with its core belief that there is no God being just as unprovable as my belief that there is.
That is a profound misunderstanding, both of religion and of atheism. Atheism is not a belief system. It is a single position on a single question. I am not convinced by the claims for a God. That's it. It has no doctrine, no rituals, no required texts. What you're describing is the cultural baggage some atheists choose to carry, not atheism itself. To say my lack of belief in unicorns is a unicorn-less religion is absurd. You're trying to drag me onto your playing field to claim we're just the same.
But you're not just passively not convinced. You are actively evangelizing. You write best-selling books, you host conferences, you lobby against religious influence in public life. This is a worldview with moral commitments, to humanism, to science, to reason. And you hold these with a fervor that is deeply religious in its character. Your church is just a Sunday assembly. Your scripture is the God delusion. You have faith in the power of human reason to explain everything, a belief that is itself not empirically verifiable.
Activism is not evangelism. When we campaign against teaching creationism in science class, we are defending a methodology, evidence-based reasoning, not proselytizing a dogma. Science is not a set of beliefs. It's a process for finding things out. And humanism is a moral philosophy, not a theology. It's based on observable human needs and well-being. You're conflating the pursuit of truth and ethics with religion because your framework can't comprehend them existing independently. We don't have faith in reason. We use reason because it works. We can demonstrate its utility.
But your evidence-based reasoning rests on unprovable faith assumptions. You have faith that the natural world is all that exists. That's your metaphysical commitment. You have faith that our senses and cognitive faculties are generally reliable, despite being products of a blind, unguided process that's selected for survival, not truth. These are your articles of faith. You simply call them axioms to make them sound more respectable. You have a creed, you just won't write it down.
And you have faith that an invisible, omnipotent deity who leaves no unambiguous evidence is the solution to these philosophical puzzles. That's a much bigger leap. Our axioms are minimal, pragmatic, and shared by everyone who wants to navigate reality. We assume our senses are somewhat reliable because the alternative is solipsism, a dead end. You assume the existence of a complex, supernatural mind. These are not equivalent faiths. One is a working hypothesis for functioning in the world. The other is a grand metaphysical claim. To equate them is intellectually dishonest.
But look at the behavior. You speak of a community. You have in-groups and out-groups. You use language like brights to describe yourselves, implying believers are dims. You excommunicate heretics. Any atheist who dares to consider the philosophical evidence for fine-tuning or the moral argument for God is shunned. This isn't just a lack of belief. It's a tribal identity with its own purity tests. That is the sociology of religion.
Community is a human need, not a religious one. People who share any common interest, from kayaking to communism, form communities. And yes, when you are a minority group facing prejudice, you build solidarity. As for heresy, there's no doctrine to violate. If an atheist becomes convinced by evidence and becomes a theist, we don't condemn their soul, we simply disagree with their conclusion. The disagreement is intellectual, not spiritual. You're projecting your religious frameworks onto a fundamentally non-religious phenomenon.
You claim it's intellectual, yet your movement is fueled by a moral outrage that feels deeply religious. You don't just think religion is false, you think it is evil. This is a prophetic, judgmental stance. You are the new reformers, trying to tear down the old church to build a new, more rational world. That is a salvific project. You are offering salvation from ignorance and superstition. That is a religious impulse, whether you admit it or not.
Opposition to harmful ideas is not a religious impulse. It's an ethical one. We see dogma causing real-world harm, oppression, violence, the stifling of scientific inquiry, and we oppose it for the same reason we oppose any harmful ideology, like fascism. That doesn't make anti-fascism a religion. You are trying to win the argument by definition, by claiming that any deeply held conviction or moral commitment is religious. It's a rhetorical trick to negate the substance of our position. We are not a church. We are a library. We are not a congregation. We are a conversation.
A conversation that is increasingly dogmatic and intolerant of its dissenters. You have your own sins, the sin of irrationality, the sin of superstition. You are, for all your talk of free thought, building your own orthodoxy.
And you, for all your talk of truth, are trying to disguise the fundamental asymmetry of our positions. You believe in a God. I do not. That does not make us mirror images. It makes you a believer and me a non-believer. Calling atheism a religion is like calling off a TV channel. It's a category error. Our movement is defined by the rejection of your core premise, not by the creation of a new one to take its place.